Today we are going to tell you regarding cluster upgrade. In the last video, we created SNO cluster through ACM through ZTP. Same cluster we are going to upgrade on that. Before proceed, let me walk through this cluster upgrade process, how it should be. There is three option you can do through cluster upgrade. One is the cluster upgrade through GUI, and another is upgrade using CLI, and the third option is basically using GitOps. So these three options as of now you can do. I'll explain more focused on the GitOps process, but still touch on that GUI as the CLI also. And so let's go through that first CLI GUI options. First, last time we built SNO ZTP cluster through ZTP process, same cluster we are going to upgrade, and this is the cluster you can see, and that this 4.20.11 is the cluster that we are going to upgrade in the next version. But let me tell you how we can do normally in the CLI GUI option. I just not going to execute, but note that this is the this cluster as a local cluster we are going to upgrade. If you click on the upgrade, you can see the version, whatever the version is there, and just start the process of that simple upgrade. Once you click is desired version, if a new version you can see, you can just upgrade. This is the one process through GUI, and very straightforward. There is nothing you have to do. And but CLI option also there, that I am going to explain that part. But before proceeding the CLI, let me go through that couple of things also, how the cluster mapping normally happen. So there is a URL OpenShift upgrade graph, and it is Citron GitHub's IO, where you have to select which version you have and which the major version you have. Based on that, just I selected 4.20, and most recent version is 70. But in my area, basically in my cluster, it's basically is 4.11. The 4.11. Yeah. Sorry. What is the 4.11? Yeah, you can select the 4.11. This is the 4.11. And you can see that from where you can upgrade to 12, 14, directly upgrade to 15, 13, and the 17 also. So these are the version you can directly upgrade from 4.11. So we are going to upgrade in 4.11, 4.14. So CLI version is very straightforward also. Basically in the CLI you need to get the SHA value from that this command. in this command, we need to the current version of the 4 dot release as 4 dot 12 14 version. You need to mention which version and the architecture also. This command will give you this shovel, this shovel, and then you have to create the cluster version YAML. In this YAML, you have to mention that 4.20 the stable current your major version. The desired update version you have to mention, and that force true. Once we create that YAML, you need to just execute that in the cluster version. That's it. That is very straightforward, but after that you need to follow the next step that I am going to do, and the same thing we are going to do for that. But my focus on that today's video, basically GitOps and the TALM. TALM is basically topology or lifecycle management. So where you can do the multiple cluster in a slowly one by one, or as a junk file. I mean, is a couple of setup, something like that. Let's say one region you have 1,000 cluster. You can how can you upgrade through multiple cluster in one shot in a periodically basis? Because in 1,000 cluster you cannot execute. That is a big process. You can do that, but Talm will help you on that. So that is the approach we are going to do, and it will be done through GitOps process. And here is the I just created on GitOps apps. That is the ArgoCD apps, and it is pointing to OCP upgrade. In that OCP upgrade, then we are going to apply those apps also. But here actually I already applied that apps. Let me go through that ArgoCD. You can see this cluster upgrade. This app is deployed, and this is the it is through policy basically. So basically policy. I'll explain that policy also in that policy. So this is the policy I just mentioned in that what we are going to do in that policy. Is creating that cluster version, that same YAML, and based on that it will start the upgrade. But there is another there is couple of process. This is the policy generator file, and in that customization, you know that in the customization we have mentioned that only the policy and a couple of so this of the file is mentioned, the cluster binding set and others is mentioned under namespace. So once you deployed, after that it will comes in this governance. It will comes in the governance. Here you can see the local cluster 8 policy is there, and the SNO cluster is 6 policies is mentioned. But in that SNO, let me click on that. What are the policy? The common certificate, then the install sat manager, metal LB, OSUS operator, configuration, and others also is deployed. So these are the policies implemented in that ZTP SNO cluster. Oh, let me open that also. That's a particular ZTP cluster also. Let it be open first, and then oh, okay. I'm just coming back to again that policy. But moving back to the policy section, you can see there are lots of policy mentioned here. And at the end, you can see that this policy also already installed and is under namespace observability, but no cluster is defined. But why it's not defined? Because we have not tagged it. Tagged it means this policy is not tagged any cluster. So in that to tag it particularly cluster, this is the SNO ZTP cluster. And you can see in that cluster settings in the this update of this cluster, whether from GUI also. And this cluster noted, this is a air gap cluster. Air gap means disconnected environment and cluster. Okay. So in that, yes, in that cluster, in that ASINO ZTP cluster, basically there is no why it's not mapped with the that policy mapped with this cluster, because till now I have not configured that any what do you call this labeling on that cluster to meet that particular upgrade, particular that policy to that cluster. So in that where it is mentioned, let me go through that policy, that policy upgrade. Okay, in that policy generator, I clearly mentioned the label selector is upgrade this version. So this label should be mapped, then only it will configure. But in this cluster, there is no this kind of label. So I'm going to apply this label on this particular cluster, on this SNO cluster. Need to log in the jump host. So I'm going to apply this. Okay, go through this command. I'll search for this first is this manage cluster. This command show label grep. There is nothing actually. So, but in the label there is so many things is there. So I'm going to add this command to label particularly this cluster. This label. Let me go to the square, and you can see this label is applied. Okay. Now, if I go to governance, If I click on that, it's showing that one is there, that is one policy is there, and that is the SNO platform upgrade policy. In that policy, but it is non-compliance. It is non-compliance means still it is not applied. I mean, it is configured and everything is, but it is attached, but it is not means non-compliance. It's not, you cannot configure that. To configure that, actually, this upgrade process is basically using that policy, and it is non-compliance because of the TALM operator is configured, but is I have not configured the cluster group upgrade. So this is very important. So this cluster group upgrade is the one YAML I need to install or deploy. In that deployment, I have to mention that which policy you need to there and who is the selector. So once we applied that, then the process will start. It will take time normally, but it will start. So before applying that, so let me copy that and apply, because this process, it will help you to upgrade multiple cluster in one shot. Let's say today night we are going to near about 100 cluster. You just name of those policy, everything is defined. Only in this cluster, cluster group upgrade CGU. In this CGU, you need to mention that this what is the name of this cluster, name and cluster name basically. This is also a one key value here. Let me tell you that pass also. Let me deploy that first, because otherwise it normally takes time, and it is deployed. Let's see what is happening. Yeah, you can see SNO cluster is done. Done means that it is applied. Now it's not non-compliance. So it will take time to upgrade the cluster. Let me go to the particularly cluster. It will take time. Meanwhile, I'll try to explain that how it works. Let me go through this workflow. So what we did, basically what normally people used to do, because it's a GitOps process. So user or coder normally or admin will create that the target cluster variables and that OCP version also, then push it to Git. From the Git, when Argo will deploy, Argo application will deploy, so it will push Argo application will fetch those configuration from that Git. In that Git, basically what Argo will do, Argo will convert those policy through policy generator plugins that we saw that. Then it will apply to the Red Hat ACM, Advanced Cluster Management. From there, it will trigger the two upgrade process. But TALM, until and unless we tag it to the particular cluster with the labels, it will not start. But again, if we do the labeling also, then it will not go through, because the violence you saw that that it is non-compliance, and the TALM will do the until the final step you need to do, basically CGU cluster group upgrade is you need to place. So it normally takes times. So let me wait for a few minutes, and then you can see what is happening. I'll tell you through command line also. Yeah, you can see this cluster update is started already. 4.20.11 to 4.20.14, and you can see here also it started. So this is how cluster upgrade happening through GitOps using TALM also, and it takes times near about 1.5 hours. I'll pause that video, or at the end I'll show you what is that. So at the end you can see this upgrade is done, and these are the things. That is the end of this video. Basically you will not get much more on that. After that you can see that upgrade is done. So I can close these things. So far now you can see this is the upgrade has started, and what is the progress of that things also you can visualize. And normally after few minutes it will on and off that the extreme process. So sometimes the API will not be available, or um, that is the process. I go to, so this is the process normally. I link with that particular I'll link with the particular video, the previous video, how I did that SNO ZTP cluster. And if you need any training, delivery, and consultancy also in OpenShift or Kubernetes, you may get in touch with that Cloud Cafe tech@gmail.com. That's it from my side. I hope this video is for you. Thank you very much.